I am very excited to break down all the new info for you about Spider-Man 2 thanks to the recent gameplay trailer from the PlayStation Showcase. So by the end of this video, you'll have a solid idea of what to expect in Spider-Man 2 before it releases. And that's a good place to start actually, because Sony hasn't given us a precise date as of yet, only the ambiguous placeholder of fall 2023 at the end of their gameplay showcase. But that doesn't mean we can't narrow that down a little more, because Venom's voice actor Tony Todd responded to a fan's comment on Twitter in May about a release date where he said it looks like September with massive publicity coming in August. Now that tweet has since gone on to be deleted, and with fall or autumn officially starting on September the 1st, that does line up quite nicely with what the studio Insomniac Games are stating in their trailer. That said, I reckon the release date may be closer to Christmas, as Xbox are releasing their console exclusive Starfield game on September the 6th. So unless Sony are planning on directly competing with that release in the same month, November or December could be a good window to take advantage of an increase in holiday spending. And I haven't seen anyone else mention this, but when I was editing this video, I saw this number at 1 minute 50 seconds in, which reads 2011-23, which I interpret as the 20th of November 2023, which could be Insomniac potentially teasing a release date here, as they like to leave Easter eggs in their videos. And for reference, Miles Morales released on Thursday the 12th of November in 2020, so it's a release window that they are very much familiar with. But while we're on the topic of exclusives, to be crystal clear, Spider-Man 2 will only be releasing on PS5, so not on the PS4 or Xbox, and will likely get a PC port a number of years after release, just like what happened with Spider-Man and the Miles Morales games. Now, senior community manager Aaron Jason Espinoza also confirmed in a PlayStation blog post that even though we can switch freely between Peter Parker and Miles Morales in-game, this isn't a co-op game, but it's a single-player adventure game, so do bear that in mind as well. Now, as for the story, Spider-Man 2 picks up from the first Spider-Man installment released in 2018 and its sequel, Miles Morales, in 2020, with Marvel's entertainment vice president stating that this game will see a lot of characters from the first two prequels return in this sequel, and who also went on to state further that if this Spider-Man 2 game was Star Wars, then it would be like The Empire Strikes Back, as it gets a lot darker and grittier, and we can certainly see that with the symbiote or symbiote, depending upon where you are in the world. But if you haven't played the first two games, or it's been a few years since you tucked into them, I would say that if we place all the big boy villains aside for the moment, what is important to know is that Harry Osborn, Peter Parker's friend, is terminally ill and was placed in a green status tank by his father, Norman Osborn, where he's been trying to heal his son by utilizing the symbiote, as you can see here. Now, this underlining story continues in Miles Morales, where we can see another clip here of Norman Osborn telling the scientist Kurt Connors to release Harry and the symbiote from the status chamber, which then leaves us on a bit of a cliffhanger. And now this brings us quite nicely to this game, where we can see Peter merging with the presumed Venom symbiote, showcasing the famous black suit, who is now in pursuit of the Lizard, which is in fact Kurt Connors, the very same scientist who was helping Norman and Harry in the Osborn lab. And incidentally, in the first trailer released back in 2021, Peter and Miles come face to face with Venom himself. So perhaps after being released from the status tank, Harry Osborn then goes on to become Venom, with Kurt Connors then turning into the Lizard, and Peter then getting infected with the Venom symbiote and is now trying to capture the Lizard, who is completely out of control. Now, the reason why he's after the Lizard himself is because he needs Kurt to continue his work in preventing Harry Osborn's terminal illness, which is in the process of being delayed thanks to his recent transformation into Venom. Now, this is emphasized in the trailer as Peter says this:
"Can't lose Connors. Harry's dying, and he's the only one who can help."
Now, that's a bit of a theory spitballing session from me at the end there, but it does seem to all add up from what we've been shown in the previous two games. But now we're all up to speed, let's talk about the game's map and new exploration features, because in the previous two games, the only areas we could sling around in was the borough of Manhattan, but that is now expanding, as Aaron Espinoza, Spider-Man 2's senior community manager, has stated that we'll be able to visit the borough of Queens, which is where this new game will be kicking off. In fact, at the start of the preview, we saw our new antagonist in this game, that being Kraven the Hunter, and more on him shortly, because when he was reviewing a new location to hunt, that being New York, we can visually see the boroughs of Brooklyn, which is where Miles was born, by the way, as well as Queens visible on his tablet. And if I just pull up a borough map of New York from Google here, you can get a better idea of potentially the new explorable map in this game. And with its size increase, we also have web wings, which can now be deployed by both Miles and Peter to move about the city swiftly. And if we use that in combination with the wind tunnels, we can traverse around the map a lot quicker than the other games, and it looks like a lot of fun. Now, if you are enjoying the video so far, please do leave a very swift like down below. So thank you very much for your support. And good news, I'm running a Spider-Man 2 game giveaway where I will announce the winner a day before release. You just need to be a subscriber of the channel to enter, and I'll pop the link in the pinned comments for you. So best of luck to you. Now, even though this game isn't co-op based, there are some GTA 5 mechanics coming into play here, with the ability for us to change between Miles and Peter during our playthrough, as we can see here from the recent showcase. Now, it's not yet confirmed if we can do so freely in terms of whenever we want to, because Marvel specifically said on their own website that we can experience the story from the point of view of each Spider-Man and seamlessly change between characters, specifically through a variety of story moments. But that said, I reckon if we're at a point in the storyline where we have access to both characters, then we'll be able to switch whenever we want during exploration. I only think that this won't be possible when, let's say, the Spider-Man symbiote and Peter really begin fighting against one another, which is when I reckon we'll end up having a tasty boss fight, that being Miles against Peter, where we will consequently not be able to switch to Peter whilst exploring in the world until we complete this certain storyline mission. But more on the black suit in just a moment, because let's discuss all of the villains that we know will be up against so far in this sequel, with the main antagonist being Kraven the Hunter, who doesn't have any special superpowers, by the way, but rather he consumes a mystical potion to extend his lifespan, which subsequently enhances his strength and senses. He's a professional game hunter and mercenary who has killed every animal known to man except for, as Marvel put it, the web-slinging beast that continues to evade him, that being Spider-Man. So he's hunting Peter Parker purely for the challenge, but it does seem he may be warming up with a few other villains, as we see him going after the Lizard in the trailer. And if we just take another look at his tablet at the start of the showcase, we can see Black Cat, Peter Parker's ex, Prowler, who is Miles's uncle and plays a big part as an antagonist in his own game, as well as Wraith, who is Captain Yuri from the first Spider-Man game and moved over to the dark side in a subsequent DLC. And we also have Taskmaster, who set up world challenges for us to complete in the first game, so perhaps they do return here in Spider-Man 2, as well as Shocker. And I would absolutely love to see this scene play out in the game as a kind of like Easter egg with the voice acting included. So just listen to this to kind of get an idea of what I mean.
Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
Very good stuff indeed. Now, I have briefly mentioned the black suit, but as the senior community manager, Aaron Espinosa, said in a PlayStation blog post, we're really delving into Peter's personal relationship with the symbiote and giving it the story it deserves. And I think we can really see this conflict occurring in the smallest of clips here, where Peter's eyes flash into Venom's for just a second, which I think illustrates this temporary bond Peter has with the black suit, which I do think is effective early on in the game due to Peter's grief caused by the death of his Aunt May. And I also reckon he's angry and frustrated by Harry's terminal illness, and because of all that is very receptive to the new abilities the symbiote offers him. And this is why, in my opinion, Peter will be a boss fight in this game, where Miles will have to use his bioelectricity to separate him from the symbiote to get Peter back to himself. And here's an interesting detail to note about the symbiote and the Spider-Man relationship, by the way, because in this scene in the trailer, you can briefly see that Peter's spidey senses don't kick in, where he's actually then saved by the black suit, forming a shield of sorts around him. And that's because in the comics, these spidey senses aren't effective against or in contact with the symbiotes. And another good example of this is here, where Miles couldn't sense Peter coming because of his bonding with the symbiote. And all of these small details say to me that we're in for a very challenging boss fight if it does indeed happen, which I think sounds great to me. And speaking of great, James Stevenson, the community director, said on Twitter that this gameplay reveal barely scratches the surface of the game and story, with Ben Arfman, the narrative director, adding to James's comments and saying, "This isn't even the craziest stuff in the game, not by a long shot." And we can expect a lot more from combat, because Aaron Espinosa continued in the PlayStation blog post by stating that the team wanted to push Spider-Man to the limits without sacrificing his combative finesse by including new takedowns and combat animations. Now, some of these being a strike back, which is an aggressive parry to gain the upper hand in combat, as well as what seems to be this new yellow aura around an enemy that indicates to me that these moves can't be parried, which is where the black suit comes into play here, allowing the symbiote to absorb it and redirect the attack elsewhere. Now, as for Miles, Marvel have stated that he picks up some newfound bioelectric powers, such as the chain lightning ability, which has a large, shocking radius of effect, and the new super slingshot ability, where we'll be able to fire Spider-Man far into the distance, just like a catapult. That said, both Spider-Men will have their own skill trees that can be upgraded in the menus, as well as a shared skill tree that offers parallel upgrades for both superheroes, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that in a future showcase very soon. But as for stealth, we've picked up a couple brand new features here in Spider-Man 2. The first being a web line, which is a way to sneak around the environment to then get the drop on enemies from above, which I'm a big fan of because it allows you to perform a dual takedown, which reminds me of the old Assassin's Creed games, and it's always very satisfying to do in game, especially when you remain in stealth after performing the maneuver itself. Now, Miles will also be able to cast his invisibility power, which does seem to have a little bit of a power up from Miles Morales, which is cool to see, as well as this new gadget called the Web Grabber that pulls enemies together into an isolated spot, which I can definitely see being a great way to pull NPCs away into hidden areas to then clear certain routes and remain undetected. But if you're not a stealth fan, you can always just blast enemies to pieces with Miles's new Thunderburst ability. Now, the benefit of this game being a PS5 exclusive is that Bill Roseman, Marvel's entertainment president, states that the game can take advantage of the horsepower that this console offers, meaning there's more details that can be added into the game, such as the costume textures and even adding people into skyscrapers, which is actually really mental when you really think about it for a game. Additionally, the lighting particles, reflections, and 3D spatial audio have all been improved, adding to the immersion. You can even see how the symbiote pulsates on the back of Peter's neck and on his biceps in this clip, which I also think is completely crazy to me, how certain studios can create stuff like this, but then you also have Gollum, which will probably end up costing the same as this game. But that said, the DualSense wireless controller is also picking up several updates for this game specifically, so you can really feel all of the webs being cast from your adaptive triggers, which I think is a really good thing, because as Aaron Espinosa, the senior community manager, says, you're going to want to get cozy with that L1 button, because you're going to love all the special cooldown abilities you can perform with it, especially Peter's Black Suit Ultra moves and Miles's Electric Thunder Blast. Now, with all that in mind, there is some cool secrets and Easter eggs dotted around this showcase, which I think you'll find really interesting to know. The first being the unsettling music at the end of the gameplay reveal, which I'll give you a quick listen to now.
Why? He's not normally like that, right?
No. He's never like that.
And this sounds a lot like the Dr. Octopus suite theme from the first Spider-Man game, which I'll also play for you now. And I think this is a very subtle way of the devs foreshadowing a fight between Miles and Peter due to the symbiote, and the importance of this tune being that it's the very same one that played in the background leading up to Peter and Dr. Octavius's fight, so it's very personal indeed. There's also a quick shot here in the new Borough Queens, where we can just about make out an American football field, which is the very same field that belongs to Midtown High School, where Peter Parker attended when he was younger, and I do wonder if we'll be able to visit and walk around it. I think that would be awesome to do. do. There's also these poison bombs that I think is a little bit of more foreshadowing or teasers here to the Green Goblin, which I also think may be the type of adversary that I could see Kraven the Hunter seeking out if the Goblin does decide to appear in this game, and I really hope he does. Now, if you are new here, do consider subscribing, as I'll be covering the game from start to finish with news, updates, tips and tricks to make sure you're completely up to date with Spider-Man 2, and big thanks to Nika, my co-content creator, for helping me make this video. Thanks very much for stopping by, and coffee is on me.